Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your source for all of your Commanders information from the fan view point of view. That is, my name is Eric. I'll be your guy tonight, your point of contact. Brian is here. We're running the skeleton crew. Mikey's out celebrating his anniversary. Ellie is off being important at work, so it's just the two of us. Like Bill Withers said, what is up, B-Man? What's going on?
Not too much. Exciting Monday night football game for preseason, anyways, right?
Dude, I can't believe that I heard the term preseason instant classic. What on earth is that? It's a preseason game.
Hey, for a preseason game, I was actually entertained all the way through. I've stayed up and watched the whole thing. Usually I'm fast asleep by at least the start of the second quarter. I am snoring. I am asleep. I stayed awake, and the Ravens and their stupid streak, 24 games, all gone now. They got to start a new one. All over.
I got the same thing. I'm usually by like halftime, I'm scrolling through I've got the game on, and I'm like not paying attention at all, scrolling through my phone. I was watching the game for the most part last night. It was fun to watch. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It's still preseason. That stupid winning streak that they talk about is over. I'm glad that this team was the one to break it, but it is a preseason game. Take that for what it's worth. It's the most meaningless streak in the record in pro football in any sports history. It's the dumbest thing ever, but they bragged about it. We broke it. I'm very happy that we're the ones to break it. It was fun to watch. It wasn't entertaining, about as entertaining as a preseason game can get.
Exactly.
And we got to see some late game heroics from Jake Fromm, which nobody has said since 2017 at University of Georgia. So all good fun. It was a great game. What did you think? I guess we'll start with the position everybody wants to talk about. Everybody's gushing over Sam Howell. What was your impression of Sam last night?
Who's that? Yeah. So last night's game, right? I think the first thing is the offense played that whole first half. I think everybody will say, it's against backups. Well, yeah, it was against backup. Baltimore rarely plays all of their starters in the preseason. They keep most of their guys out, but we did play them literally a handful of days earlier, Tuesday and Wednesday, joint practices, all their starters, and did the same thing. So I'm not too worried about the backups that we played, because we played their starters a couple of days ago at the joint practice. But Sam Howell, like you asked, Sam Howell looked pretty solid. Wasn't great, but he looked solid, and you saw flashes of certain things to come, right? Like when he starts figuring things out, when things get a little easier for him and things go quicker, you see that quick release, you see the arm, you see him going through progressions, you see him trying to do too much as well too, right? There was another bad sack that he took. That first one was really bad. Like, he just has to throw it away. You can't be a home run on every play. You can't try to get a home run on any play. Hey, sometimes you just got to throw it away, throw it in the dirt, whatever, and live to fight another day. But the other thing that it showed, though, with that sack, the very next play, what did we see? He picks up a 3rd and 15 or a 3rd and 14 with a 15-yard completion. He stayed in the pocket, went through the progressions, and found Cole Turner for a big gain. So you see, a negative, and then you see a positive, right? He doesn't let that bad play turn into 2 bad plays or 3 bad plays. So that was great to see. And then you got to see him in the 2-minute drill. Hey, doesn't matter who you're going against. Can you operate that 2-minute drill? Because we haven't had one the last couple of years. Scott Turner just kind of refused to use one, and we just never really had one. And I thought that was great to see him in that, take us down the field, get some points. So I liked what I saw. Progression, he's getting better, and he's going to continue. And this was all done with no game plan. They're just working on their basic concepts. They just were running curls, hitches, some quick passes to the outside, just basic stuff. I'll be very, very interested to see week 1 what a real game plan looks like. But hey, I couldn't ask for anything more. No turnovers either from the starter. What about you?
One thing. Yeah, one thing I am really I don't know that anybody's really mentioned this thus far this preseason. The one thing that I'm most impressed about with Sam Howell is that of all the throws he's made in the preseason, like I can't look back at any throw he's made and see where he got away with one that probably should have been picked. Exactly. He's putting the ball in, he's making the safe throw, he's making the correct throw, and he's putting it in a place where his guy can make a play and the defensive can't. The only, maybe iffy ball might have been the deep shot to De'Ami Brown last night that got broken up. But the DB didn't have a chance to catch that ball. He was just there. He broke it up. Could have been a better throw, but it wasn't an interception. This isn't a situation where we saw last year with Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz, where like there were throws that they got lucky on. Sam's not getting lucky on his throws. He's making the correct throws. Now, granted, some of these guys, aren't starting caliber NFL players, but whatever. He's making throws. He's getting the ball in the right position. He's making the correct throw. And I think they're putting him in a situation where the throws he has are going to be there for him. There's going to be somebody open on these routes. He's finding the right guy. He's making the throw. And that is a fantastic development. Now, I think, throughout this year, Sam's going to take sacks. I think that's going to be his one kind of drawback this year. He does hold on to the ball too long. The second sack they gave up last night was 100% on him. He didn't, I think, in Bieniemy's offense, the quarterback is responsible for making that call, sliding the protection. He didn't do that. It was a 4-man rush. They just didn't slide the protection correctly. It may have been on the center. It may have been on the quarterback, but Sam didn't see it. And he was completely just blindsided by an unblocked rusher. It wasn't like they sent extra guys to pressure. It was a 4-man rush against 5 blockers. They just didn't have the right protection. I think that was on Sam, and he kind of said that against him last night as well in his interview.
He took responsibility for both sacks. Absolutely.
So in that case, I think that may be something to watch with him. I think that's going to be a thing with him. He may end up just taking some sacks, but I don't see any turnover-worthy plays thus far this preseason. I hope that continues. I know it won't, but at some point he's going to, commit a turnover. But the fact that he's making these reads correctly, he's getting through his progressions rather quickly, and he's making the correct throw, putting it in a place where only his guy. That's a really positive sign for a young quarterback. So I'm excited to see that moving forward. One thing I'm not excited to see moving forward is Terry McLaurin's injury. He came up gimpy at the end of that first half with a toe injury. Not looking like it's going to be a long-term thing. X-rays were negative. They're saying he's day-to-day. As somebody who injured his big toe in 2019 and is still dealing with it, I know big toes can be pesky. What's the concern level on your part for Terry's injury at this point?
My concern level is a lot. He's our number one wide receiver. He's a difference maker in the pass game. I mean, last year, how many times did we see him run by the number one corner or make Jair Alexander, Darius Slay, Stephon Gilmore, whoever it was on the other side look foolish after he came down with a big catch or just ran a great route on them? He did that week in, week out. So to not have that, especially when you got a young quarterback who, he needs all the weapons he can get, it's very frustrating and very worrisome. And especially, too, I'm very upset with Rivera. You rested all of your defense with the exception of 3 guys. Like, what did you need to see from Terry McLaurin last night? Like, he could have easily sat last night, and they probably would have still had the same outcome last night. So that's squarely on Ron Rivera. And I am worried because just like you said, these are problemsome type injuries that can leak into the regular season, that can linger, that can last a long time. And for somebody who is going to, kind of rely on that, not really like an offensive lineman who's a little bit stationary, doesn't have to move that much. He needs that foot. So I'm worried. I'm worried a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Big toes are it's one of those things that you don't realize how much you rely on your big toe until your big toe hurts. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And for somebody who relies on explosiveness getting downfield, it can be a concern. It's definitely worth watching. Positive sign though was he made a bunch of great plays last night. He looked like Terry McLaurin. Your impression of the other receivers, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, etc.
But before that, just one last thing on Terry. You know what was nice was that he was getting the ball within the construct of the offense, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We didn't have to wait till the fourth quarter before. And Scott Turner would say, "You know what? We're down 4 touchdowns. Let's start getting Terry the ball." So that was nice to see. But the other receivers, of course, Jahan Dotson is special. Like, he's going to be really, really good. You saw that last night. But it was good to see De'Ami get going. He had some big catches, and in particular, that touchdown catch, I think, is something that could be a confidence booster for him, and especially with his connection with Sam. I hope that kind of turns into something a little bit more. And then we saw Gibson. We talked all offseason, hey, this is an offense that Gibson should be better in, should be featured in, should play better. Really kind of hadn't seen it up until this point, but we did get to see a little bit of it. I did like the play design where, the routes kind of take the defenders into the back of the end zone, and guess who follows right behind that? Gibson for almost not necessarily a walk-in touchdown, but as close as you can get to it. So Cole Turner looked nice as well. He caught some big passes, again, back in that third down. How many years did we in a row, whether it's Scott Turner or Jay Gruden, they would run routes right at the first down marker or short of the first down marker? Cole Turner ran that route, that curl, well beyond the first down marker. So when he came back, he caught the ball. It was a first down. So I appreciated seeing that it was a first down and not short of the first down. So a lot of guys stepped up last night, and a few more stepped up once Terry went down.
Yeah, I know our guy Ellie is through the roof that Diame had a big game last night. I am slow to get on the Diame train. I think we've seen highlight plays from him in the past. This is a make or break year for Brown. I'm going to cheer for him. I'm going to root for him. I want him to succeed. I'm not sold that he's that guy yet. If he's going to do it, it's going to be with Sam Howell as his quarterback. This is an ideal situation for him. I'm hoping he can just prove to be that other reliable receiver this team is going to need if one of our main guys goes down with an injury. So I'm cheering for Diame Brown, but I'm not jumping on that hype train just yet. One guy I am jumping on that hype train for is Emmanuel Forbes. I love him. His run support has been top notch thus far this preseason, and the limited snaps he's seen. Now he came in a little hot against Zay Flowers on one play last night. I wouldn't say he got beat because he sat on the route. He was there to make the tackle. He took a bad angle, came in high. I didn't like that so much, but man, he came up another week, another just fantastic third and short stop on a run play on a guy who's given up 45 pounds to. Fantastic play. Are you as excited as I am about Emmanuel Forbes moving forward this season?
Probably a little bit less excited. No, I think you're right, though. He does look really, really good. I think on that Zay Flowers one, I think he probably was like, I don't want to get embarrassed. Let me back up here. Let me kind of come down there. And I think he ended up kind of fooling himself. If he would have just come down normally, he would have had him. But he looks good. I was never so much worried about the size portion of it, because hey, if you can play in the SEC for 4 years, I think you can handle the NFL in terms of having to tackle and things like that. He's never going to be a forceful hitter, but he understands how he can get guys down to the ground. So I'm excited for him. I'm not excited for our linebackers because we only had Ron Rivera rested his whole defense. He played 3 starters. Forbes is one. The other 2, Jamin and Barton. And I did not see them make a play. I looked at the stat sheet. They each had 3 tackles, but I didn't see them anywhere. I did not see them make any impact. Now, some of that is the guys in front of them, the defensive line. They weren't really doing a whole lot. They were getting blown around. But what do you think about those 2? Like Jamin and Barton having to play that whole half with the rest of the defense on the bench?
If I'm not mistaken, Barton did have a nice pass breakup at one point. It's the only play I noticed either linebacker on, though. It is concerning. The Ravens were employing a lot of backup players, and Jamin Davis didn't stand out. It's a little concerning. Should be his leap year. This should be the year he makes a big jump. He's got a lot going on in his personal life. Maybe that's affecting it, but he's got to step up. So jury's out there. I'm not going to pass judgment on that guy just yet. Barton, haven't been a huge fan of at all. I'm not going to start, but he did make a nice, I believe it was him that made a pass breakup in the first quarter, at least. The linebacking core, we know the linebacking core has been a cause of concern for us for a long time because they're just refusing to address it. And they're just they're kind of treating it like they treat the offensive line, where they're just bringing in guys who can be there, but aren't necessarily impact players. I'm hoping Jamin Davis can step up and be that guy. And maybe Cody Barton can too. I just haven't seen it yet from him. Again, Khaleke Hudson's been Mr. Invisible ever since the pads went on. Just, we hear all the hype all off season, and then he just, he disappears. Completely expected. So, the linebacking core is going to be a concern all season. It's basically the offensive line of the defense. It's the weak point, and it's something we're just going to have to watch and hope works out. They figure something out to keep that in place. So we'll see on the linebackers. I'm not super I'm at a level 5 right now. I could go either way as far as like excited or concerned. I'd like to see more out of him. I haven't seen it yet, so that's definitely something that is worth watching. Anybody else stand out to you last night? Kind of wrapping up what we talk. Any big plays or any players that you really liked to see or did things that you liked?
A couple of things stood out to me. So one positively, Sam Cosmi on the offensive line. The interior actually looked pretty good, pretty solid last night. In particular, I saw a couple of plays where Cosmi, like working on the interior as opposed to tackle, is pretty different. So there was one play where Cosmi had to help the center Nick Gates with his block, and once he helped him, he immediately turned and looked for the right tackle and ran over and helped him with his block, and basically just helped knock that defender over to the ground. And so that requires a level of awareness when playing guard. Hey, you're not just on an island by yourself. Part of your responsibility is helping your teammates, doing combo blocks, things like that, making sure that you don't just stand around. If you don't have anybody directly over you, go look for work, right? That's what they tell you. Go look for work. And he did that on that particular rep. Which also leads me into the next player, the right tackle, which, maybe not a good thing, but Andrew Wiley got taken out of the game, I want to say the second series, pretty quickly. And I went back and tried to search Twitter and to see, hey, was it injury related? And I didn't see anything that said any injury related about it, just that he got replaced by Trent Scott. So we know Bieniemy has almost like a zero tolerance policy. So I wonder if that he just wasn't happy with the performance there at right tackle. Leno already didn't start the game because he was injured. So I just I'm kind of curious to see where Wiley is at in his development, because he had some penalties the last game, and then gets taken out here when the rest of the first half offense, or the offense, was there the first half. So otherwise, the interior of that offensive line looked pretty good. Nick Gates, he was running around hitting people. They're still not very good at screens though. The linemen are just, I don't know if they're fast enough. They're not getting to their landmarks and getting to their blocks because the screens just they're not working just yet.
Yeah, the backfield in general has not been super impressive. The running game just hasn't been there. And I don't know, there may just not be much of a focus on it. The screen game, which should be a staple of this Bieniemy scheme, hasn't been what we would expect it to be as of yet. So that remains to be seen. Nick Gates and the interior is even Sadiq Charles had a solid game.
Yeah.
All three of them played well. Gates got in a fight in the end zone after Gibson's touchdown, which I hate. I mean, I understand, like, okay, fine. It's the Ravens. They're jerks. But man, just, we got lucky they were offsetting penalties. You got to get yourself under control. We saw it with John Ridgeway last year. You can do a lot of good on the field, but if you're getting dumb penalties like that, it's going to nullify all the good. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. He does seem to have that nasty streak that you like in an offensive line. The question will become, can he control it? He wasn't really able to do that so well last night. So we'll have to move forward with that. One thing, going back to that Gibson touchdown, that was a wide receiver type catch. That was a contested catch where he took a big shot. I loved that catch from him. I would love to see more than that. I can't wait to see that. That's the Gibson that we need to see this year. So very excited about that. And one other thing that I like, and I've continued to like, is kind of a carryover from the last game, the aggressiveness of the secondary coming up and making tackles. Those guys are dialed in at this point. All of those guys are just coming up, making stops. You saw Percy Butler do it last night. We saw Wild Goose didn't have the best game, but again, he was aggressive coming up. He got beat a little bit in coverage, but he was aggressive coming up in the run game. Christian Holmes, aggressive coming up in the run games. Emmanuel Forbes, you see it. I love to see that because that wasn't there last year. Those guys were sitting back last year. And even in the short passing game, not even against the run. Like the defenders are closing out quickly. They're swarming to the ball. I like to see that from the secondary. Those guys come to play every week. I can't wait to see more of that. We got one preseason game left. It's coming up this Saturday, the 26th. We are not going to have a chance probably to talk again before next Tuesday, which would be the final cut down day. I think a lot of the positions are kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. And I assume you agree with that. Like quarterback, we know they're going to keep Brissett and Howell. We know what the tight end group is going to look like. We know what we know what most of the groups are going to look like. The secondary, those guys. There may be a couple of position battles, but there's some hotly contested back end, especially position battles. What groups do you see, I guess, as the most like hotly contested groups going into final cutdowns? Where do you see the most up in the air positions at?
Yeah, I think you're going to be looking at the wide receiver group, right? We know 1 through 3. I think we know 4 pretty well, right? It's going to be Terry, Jahan, Curtis. Diami probably looks like he is that number 4. But who's after him, right? Is it Dax Milne? Is it Mitchell Tinsley, I think his name, or Mitch Tinsley? Is it Casimir Allen? Like Casimir Allen, are they going to classify him as a wide receiver, as a running back? How do they do that in terms of roster breakdown when it comes to final cuts? Or Dax Milne, right? Like, can he make it? It doesn't. We haven't heard his name too much out there, and there's Byron Pringle, who's also a kick returner and who's looked good, and he's got legitimate speed. And guess what? He knows the offense already because he's been with Bieniemy in Kansas City for a couple of years already. So he looks like somebody who could potentially make the roster at those last couple of wide receiver spots, 5 and 6. And that's it, right? Hey, they keep 6. One of those guys will have to be the returner, the kick return, punt return guy. So there's some other receivers that are there. There's that Marcus Kemp. He's kind of your tall guy, your 6'5", 6'6", Cam Sims replacement guy. Also another Kansas City player, but he doesn't give you, he gives you some special teams, but no return ability. So do you think he can make it? Maybe potentially. I think that is a group that I'll be watching. And then, for me, also, kind of this tight end group, tight end running back. Not so much that we don't know the running backs, is that bottom part, right? There's Logan Thomas, there's Bates, there's Cole Turner, but are they going to keep 3? Or are they going to keep 4? And then whoever is that last running back, you think they keep Alex Arma, the fullback, because he can double as your tight end 4, give you position flex, help the run game by being a blocker, and then also play special teams as well too. So I think he's a guy who could sneak onto the roster. They may decide to keep, I don't know. They may classify him as tight end 4. They may classify him as a running back. We'll see, right? Depending on that Casimir Allen, how they classify him as well. But those are the couple that I'm going to be watching for, because there are some interesting, guys, options that we have there who can really kind of help this team, right? A fullback is needed, right? I think we just talked about, we didn't think that the run game, you just said it, Eric. Yeah, you didn't think that the run game looked that great here these last couple of games. Well, you know what'll help it? A big giant fullback back there, also helping to clear out some holes. So can he make it? And then we need a returner of some kind. I don't think anybody wants to see Dax Milne back there again.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, you're going to see Dax Milne back there again at receiver. I think he makes this team. You look at him, he's getting first reps. Both games thus far, he's gotten first reps at punt return, because I think what Rivera and company value more than anything is somebody who's not going to make a mistake. They would happily take a 0.2 yard return average for somebody who's not going to fumble and who's not going to field a punt inside the 5 yard line, that sort of thing. And I think that's what Dax Milne gives them. Kaz Allen, he has been getting some reps and he's looked a little bit explosive back there, but he's getting him in the third quarter. Like his kick returns, his punt returns are coming like later in the game after Dax Milne. So I don't think that bodes well for him. I don't love it. I don't want to see Dax Milne back there running around a circle or downing it, but I think what I value, what you value, and what Ron Rivera and company value is probably a little bit different. Alex Arma is a different player. I think he's 100% on this team, and I think you nailed it. I think he's a combination fullback / tight end.
Yeah.
He allows you to keep another player at another position if you have that. He's your 4th running back, and he's your 4th tight end, or 5th tight end maybe, because I don't know. Maybe Hodges makes the team as well. I think that Logan Thomas, John Bates, and Cole Turner are on the team. I think Hodges is on the bubble.
Well, Hodgman,
Um,
he had a bad drop. Like, I mean, you're
yeah,
6'8", and he couldn't even get himself to lift off the ground like an inch to catch the ball.
yeah, that was a real lack of effort. It looked like a lack of effort play. I mean,
Yeah,
the ball was a little high, but that was not a great effort
no,
from Hodges.
not at
But I
all.
think they've shown him, he's shown the athletic potential that he can be that guy. Maybe he's a practice squad candidate. But if it comes down to it, I think you keep Armah because he can play two positions. He can
Yep.
give you that, maybe that tight end, that H-back, and that fullback role. He can be the lead blocker. And those tight ends, you're not going to put those guys back there to play fullback. You can put them in the backfield, but they're not going to do anything.
Yep.
Armah can make a play. I think Armah's 100% on this team. I think, at running back, you've got Robinson, Gibson, and Rodriguez. Those are your three running backs. And Armah's that fourth guy. Patterson and our guy Jay Will, who we all love, I think
Yep.
maybe destined for practice squad or cut. I don't love it because I love Jay Will. I don't want to see anything. I want to see him retire at 15 years from now. But just based on the workload they're getting now, it looks a little like dicey for those guys. So maybe the fourth preseason game makes a difference there. Rodriguez did have a fumble last night. He's been really effective. He's been the most effective runner in the preseason. Granted, it's been against like third team guys, but he's just, I think we said it last week. He's not a dynamic runner at all. He's going to just do one thing and one thing really well. He's going to run like a wrecking ball. I love watching him run. It's fun to watch. We gave him a little crap about his weight earlier in the offseason, but he's handling it well. He's looked good running the ball outside of the one fumble last night. I think Pringle makes the team. I think he's your wide receiver 5, and Dax Milne is your last guy. Marcus Kemp, actually, I liked him. He's made a couple of, not wow plays, but he's shown, he looks like he could be a reliable, definitely a Cam Sims replacement type player. Yeah. And I think this team rolls with 7 wide receivers. I think they roll 7 wide receivers. They use Armah as like the flex tight end running back, so that gives them that position. And then, the offensive line is of course going to be interesting to see who those back end guys does our guy, our center, I already lost his name. Ricky Stromberg. Does his guard play? They're teaching him to play guard. I think that's to get him on the active roster. Did he beat out Tyler Larson for that last offensive line spot? Does Tyler Larson make the team? Do they keep 3 centers? Based on how last year went, they might need 3 centers because they burn through them like Spinal Tap burns through drummers. There's a lot of question marks on this team, but I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch next season. What about defense? Do you think the defensive line battle, like that back end defensive line? Obviously, we know what the starters are, but is there some intrigue back there?
Yeah, I think I think the defensive tackles are probably pretty set, right? I think you're going to keep obviously our 2 studs, and then you've got Ridgeway, Mathis, and then I think they're going to keep one other guy, which is either that Benning Potato or a Patoa. Patoa, or there's the other guy, Abdullah, if who are battling for that last DT spot. But defensive end, I think that's the biggest thing. We know the 2 starters, Chase and Montez Sweat, but who's after them, right? We've seen the last couple of years, Ron has been faithful to the 7th round, KC2 Hill, James Smith-Williams, nice guys. Solid in the run game, but offers 0 pass rush. Well, what did Ron do this past year? He focused on pass rush. And he tried to get, Andre Jones, KJ Henry. Ron doesn't really cut draft picks, at least not in the first year anyway. So, between those guys, you still have F.A. Obata, who's a defensive end, defensive tackle, who can give you some good pass rush as well, too. So he's going to make it. But I don't think that James Smith-Williams, we saw him playing late into that game on Monday night. He was playing in the 4th quarter. Casey Toohill, again, another person playing late into that game. These are just ordinary guys. So I could potentially see both of them being gone and both of the draft picks being on there. I just don't see any reason to kind of keep those guys around. I think Ron understands he needs more pass rush from the defensive ends because we haven't had a whole lot of pass rush from our defensive ends. Even though it's a contract year, we still can't guarantee that Chase has a big year or that Montez has a big year. We want them to. We hope, our fingers are crossed that they do. But it's clear that Ron wants some more pass rush. And Andre Jones has been getting reps with the first team. In practice,
Yeah.
joint practices. We've seen him get some reps, and he actually looks like he's got some moves to him. Right, he didn't look out of place. So you can already see right there, he's probably a guy who's got a really good shot to not only make the team, but be somebody who's in the rotation pretty regularly. So he's somebody I'd look to. KJ Henry's been a little bit more quiet, but again, they traded up in the 5th round to get him. I can't see Ron cutting him. I think he makes it. I think we might be looking at maybe some of the last days of Casey Hill and James Smith-Williams.
Yeah, James Smith-Williams is interesting. I think he's got a better shot because he can slide inside and play a little defensive tackle if need be as well.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And this team is always willing to sacrifice linebacker slots to add more defensive linemen. So you could see all those guys making it and keep 2 linebackers. And Casey Hill has been a guy who he's not an every down player, but he has come up big when he's gotten a chance to play. So those are the kind of guys that can kind of stick around. But I also think maybe those are practice squad candidates.
Yeah.
Hill, I don't, there's not going to be a huge market for him, but he's proven value to this team. I agree with you on the draft picks. Andre Jones seems to be a very pleasant surprise. I don't think they were expecting much from him this year, and I think he's shown a lot more maybe than what they were looking for. KJ Henry, of course, the draft capital is there. I'm having a hard time with Phil Mathis at this point. He just, he got hurt again. He was very uninspiring. He was a 2nd round draft pick. They're not going to give up on him, but man, the train is leaving the station for me on that guy. I really need to see a little bit from him. He needs to stay healthy. Also, train maybe leave it a little bit on Chase Young too. Like, I know he got a stinger, but man, he really needs a big year. And if he can't get on the field, it's just going to be a long season.
And the one big thing there with you were talking about Mathis. Mathis is not a pass rusher. Maybe he develops that into his game and we see it later on, but he's a run stopper. And it kind of sucks for him because we then go and pick up Ridgeway. That was a nice find. The Cowboys cut him. They were hoping to kind of stash him on the practice squad, but we swooped in and got him. And he is that, right? He, when Washington goes in their 5-2 defense, right, and they've got 5 defensive linemen, he can play over top of the nose, which gives you the ability to put Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne one-on-one against a guard. And they're not facing a double team of any sort, and that that's a big thing because you can get a lot of pressure out of that formation. So, and that's something that Mathis should be able to do, but he's been hurt, he's gotten hurt again, and hasn't done a whole lot. So, yeah, you're right. It's little bit of a rough go of it for him, and he's just very one-dimensional right now. Like, not saying that he can't develop into a little bit more of a pass rusher, but that's just not his game. He's just a run stopper, and we have guys who could do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Give me your one super long shot player that you think is just going to surprise everyone and make the roster this season.
Super long shot on defense?
Either way, offense, defense, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, on defense, I think there's much less of a chance on that. I think those are probably pretty straightforward. I'm gonna have to go offense, and I'm gonna go with actually I'll go with one that the other way, not makes the roster, gets cut.
Ooh,
We just talked about Ron Rivera keeps his draft picks. Braden Daniels. They drafted him 5th round or 6th round, 5th round to be a tackle. And I just haven't seen it with him. There's just nothing there. He hasn't elevated himself above the 3rd team. He's played 3rd team tackle, 3rd team guard, and that's just it. I just don't see it with him. So you can cut him. He'll go to the practice squad. I mean, he's got to gain some weight. He's got to gain some strength. And ultimately, I don't think he's a tackle. I think he's a guard. He's got short arms. I just don't see it with him. So I can see him being cut quickly.
Yeah, and that's a safe cut, I think, because he probably will make it to the practice squad based on what he's put on film thus far this preseason. And because you cut him, My long shot player, I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to go with Marcus Kemp. I think he makes his team. The enemy brought him in.
Yeah.
He's going. Yeah, I think, and you said it earlier that Cam Sims role. Cam Sims has left the team. Marcus Kemp fills right in there, and he will be that guy who doesn't do much. You're going to wonder why he's on the roster, and then every once in a while he's just going to show up and make this ridiculous, huge play for this team. I think he makes it as the last wide receiver onto this roster. That's all we got this week, I think. We were able to rapid fire cover quite a few topics this week. Any final thoughts from Brian? Anything to look forward to this week or next week? What are you looking forward to maybe in the last preseason game?
Yeah, I do want to see some more of these guys, right? I want to see some more Jared Patterson. I like him, Jonathan Williams. I want to see more of those guys get an opportunity. I want to see Mason Brooks on the offensive line. We heard about him in a rep in a drill during practice, and then, much like
The one rep wonder. Yep.
Yeah, much like Khalid Hudson, the pads came on and then he disappeared. I want to see if there's anything there with him. Like, he needs to get on the field. I want to see that. Ricky Strongberg, every time I watch him, he just is knocking guys out. He's putting guys on their back. He's looking good. And he's a center. I know they want to put him at guard, but he's a center. I want to see him get some reps with the first unit, or I guess this last game, no starters are going to play, but I want to see him out there, and I just want to see how well he does, how well he holds up, because I think he could be a long-term center for us. Is it just me, or did Jacoby Brissett not look that great this last game? And
did not have a great game. Of the three quarterbacks, he was the least impressive.
Yeah, and then the enemy pulled him because the very next drive it was Fromm, and Fromm played the rest of the game.
Yeah, that interception was bad. That was bad. Like the one he threw the week before was somewhat forgivable at the end of the first half. He just threw kind of a YOLO ball. This one he missed I don't remember who the receiver was, but he missed him by like 3 to 4 yards. Yeah, Bates ran a good route. He was open, and Brissett just missed him. He was off the entire game. It's the Jacoby Brissett experience, though. He's a mid quarterback. He's going to be a mid quarterback. He's going to have good plays and bad plays, keep you in games, probably cost you some games. That's just the experience. I know this is heartbreaking to Ellie, but yeah, I mean, he looked like he did of the three quarterbacks last night. He looked the worst. His job is secure, though. He's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen to him.
He's got $8 million coming to him, so no, he's fine. But yeah, I want to see some of these younger receivers. Mitchell Tinsley, like I want to see more of them. I want to see him catch the football. I want to see him make some moves and put some moves on people. I want to see more of that. So yeah, I want to see some of these young guys get out there, and whether it's Brissett or Fromm throwing the ball, I want to see what it looks like, and see who can help us out here.
How much you think Howell plays this weekend?
Oh, they're not. They're done. I think they got what they wanted. This is why he played this much in this game and why the offense played. They liked what they saw in those joint practices. And again, something I think people are missing here a little bit is Eric Bieniemy. Each one of these games and practices, he's working on something. You could see, we heard, hey, short intermediate passes, passing game, quick game in those joint practices. And we get to the preseason game a little bit longer, right? Howell was looking to go further down the field in this preseason game. And you can see that they're just working on stuff, working on these concepts, trying to kind of hone it in, get fine-tune everything for week one. So I like that approach because we haven't had a professional approach. It's just been, hey, this one looks good right now. Try this. Hey, Eric, go run deep. I'll throw it to you type of thing, with no plan in place. So I like that there seems to be an approach and thought behind what they're doing. But yeah, there's no way there's no way that they would play him. I just don't see you got McLaurin hurt this week. Who else you want to get hurt next week if Rivera does that?
Yeah, that kind of leads into what I want to see this weekend. I want to see Jahan Dotson, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, Sam Howell, Logan Thomas, John Bates. I want to see those guys in bubble wrap on the sideline. Don't let anything happen to them. Don't put Chase Young out there. I don't want to see anybody who we know is going to play. We'll let the young guys roll. I want to see guys trying to make this team and working hard. This is the weekend that I think that Kaz Allen busts a touchdown on a kick return or a punt return. That's what I want to see. I want to watch guys play hard, try to make this team. It's the only thing making the third final preseason game worth watching. It's just hard to get through in general. want to see those guys just really play like their career is on the line, because for most of them it is.
Yeah.
It's sad. I hate it. But Tuesday is coming. Everybody knows it. I want to see who steps up and who really shines, and maybe works to change somebody's mind. Can't wait to watch this preseason game, and honestly, more so, can't wait to get it over with and get into the regular season, because that's coming too. We've got lots coming down the pike. Hopefully, our guys will be back here. We'll be back in full force in a week or two. Brian, thank you tonight for letting me take charge. Cool. People know that I talk sometimes. It's good to know every once in a while. So
I got one.
Oh, go ahead.
Ron Rivera needs to be massaging Terry McLaurin's toe every day until that toe is rehabbed. That's completely on him. That's his fault. I'm still mad about Rivera putting him out there.
To kiss that boo boo.
Yeah,
kiss it away.
He's got to make that right. He's got to do it.
Converse.
Yeah, Rivera's got to show some position flex there and make sure he can do everything to get Terry healed up.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Catch me at eTrod42 on Twitter when I'm on there every 6 to 8 weeks. Brian's always on Twitter. He is super active. Ellie is always on Twitter. He is super active. Catch us on all your major podcatches. That would be Amazon. That would be Spotify. That would be Apple. We're there. Of course, we're on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share. It helps us. Give us a kind review. If you've got 5 stars to hand out, please give them to us. It helps us go a long way. It pushes us up in the algorithm. A helpful review. If you don't like our show, don't leave a review. We don't want to hear that. You can just hate us in silence. What you got, Brian?
Oh, I forgot one last thing. Last year was a big year for us. We had as a sponsor DraftKings for the 2022 NFL season. Guess what? They're going to be our sponsor again for the 2023 season. So you'll see some DraftKings stuff in the next couple of weeks. I think in 2 weeks.
So. Yeah, we're looking forward to doing those ad reads every episode. They were a lot of fun. And you guys will be helping me out this time around, I'm sure. Or at least you'll be cheering me on while I try to struggle through every state abbreviation in the alphabet. Can't wait to do that. Thank you all. We appreciate you. Brian, thanks a lot. We'll be back next week with more Commanders Declassified action with a fully formed roster by the time we hit the airwaves next. We will see you then. Peace and chicken grease, my friends.